From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, April the 24th, 2025. Sirens sounded at 10 a.m. local time across Israel today, marking Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, bringing the country to a standstill. With special ceremonies and programs throughout the day, including from Israel's memorial to the Holocaust, Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took part in the wreath-laying ceremony. And in Poland, tens of thousands from across the globe took part in the annual March of the Living from Auschwitz, 80 years after its liberation. Israel's President Isaac Herzog, Polish President Andrzej Duda, Holocaust survivors, together with former hostages who were abducted during the October 7th Hamas massacre and held captive in Gaza, and families of hostages who remain captive in Gaza, among those making the walk from Auschwitz to Birkenau to honor and remember the 6 million Jews, men, women, children, murdered in the Holocaust. The March of the Living organization said this was a march of remembrance, a march of defiance, a march of hope. Together, they carry one united message: never again. Among the former hostages, Agam Berger and Dori Megadish, who accompanied Holocaust survivors Gital Koifman and Irene Shashar. Shashar saying, "We've been through horrors, but despite it all, we are here, standing strong in the face of all evil." And grandmother of released hostage Omer Wenkert, Seely Wenkert, a Holocaust survivor herself, who said she was marching as living proof that the Jewish people survive despite all attempts to destroy us. Yesterday, on the eve of Yom HaShoah, the former hostages and hostage families stood inside the crematorium of the death camp and sung Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, the Hope. Alongside the president of Poland, Herzog spoke from Auschwitz, saying 80 years since the Holocaust, the Jewish people and the Jewish state of Israel continue to endure attacks on multiple fronts. He said, "With a broken heart, I remind us all that although we swore after the Holocaust never again, today, right now, the souls of dozens of Jews are once more caged in dungeons, starved, as Janusz Korczak described life in the ghetto, thirsting for water and freedom. Still, 59 of our brothers and sisters remain in the hands of terrorist murderers in Gaza, victims of a horrifying crime against humanity. The return of the hostages is a universal human duty," Herzog saying, "From this place, I call upon the entire international community to rally together and put an end to this humanitarian atrocity." U.S. President Donald Trump issued a special proclamation last night for Holocaust Remembrance Day, saying the price to humanity of the lives lost during the Shoah can never be fully grasped or understood. Yet, even in the wake of the Holocaust, a self-determined Jewish homeland rose from the ashes as the modern state of Israel. The president adding that sadly our nation has borne witness to the worst outbreak of anti-Semitism on American soil in generations, noting the explosion of anti-Semitism after the October 7th Hamas massacre. A reminder, he said, that the poison of anti-Semitism tragically still exists. Trump said, "We vow to never forget the atrocities of the Holocaust. We declare that never again means now." Turning to some other news, the IDF continues its operations in Gaza, saying today, together with Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, It eliminated terrorists who were in a command and control compound of the Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist organizations that was established in the Jabalia area and used to plan and execute terrorist acts against the citizens of the State of Israel and IDF forces. Noting that prior to the attack, many steps were taken to reduce the chance of harming civilians. Israeli firefighting crews finally gained control today over the massive brush fire that had forced the evacuation of several towns and communities near Jerusalem. A number of firefighters and first responders were lightly hurt battling the blaze, which lasted for over 20 hours, and over 2,000 acres of land were burned. Well, we have more special programming for Yom HaShoah for you tonight on JBS for Thursday, April the 24th. At 7 o'clock, I speak with Holocaust survivor Mark Schonwetter. At 7:30, filmmaker Beth Lane talks about her mother's survival in the Shoah, chronicled in her documentary UnBroken. At 8, Jonah Platt sits with Alma, Daniel Jr., and Consuelo Hernandez, 3 Mexican-American Jewish siblings who have each made their mark in public service, education, and advocacy. Then it's 2 L'chaim interviews back-to-back, the first with Elie Wiesel and then with Simon Wiesenthal. At 10, David Harris is joined by John Spencer on Defending Israel. At 10:30, it's an encore of the news. And coming up next, Dr. Anita Shapira speaks from the Temple Emanu-El Streicker Center about Jewish resilience and the legacy of the Holocaust. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, April the 24th, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. I am off tomorrow, but I will be back with the news on Monday. Wishing you an early Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.